Let's mix our secondary colors to make our pumpkin landscape. I have my primary colors, yellow, red, and blue. I have an old tray to do my mixing on. I have my paper. I have a black crayon for drawing, and I have water. In this container, you can hardly see it. Let me scoot some things over. And a paper towel for wiping off my paintbrush. Lots of supplies today. So the first thing we're going to do is think about implied lines. Do you want your pumpkin to be a perfectly straight implied vertical line? Do you want it to be an implied line horizontal line? Or maybe it's bending. I think my pumpkin is going to be bending. So we need to draw our implied line with our pencil. Make sure that you leave space on the bottom because we're going to put grass down here. Then I'm going to, with my crayon, draw the shape of my pumpkin. Yours can be whatever shape you want. Mine has an implied curve. Now, erase my implied line. I'm going to draw a stem and draw, since it's in a landscape, we're going to draw grass and leave the background blank. All right, there's my pumpkin. Now let's mix some colors. My pumpkin is orange, so I'm going to mix yellow. Leave some yellow because you still need to mix more. Half of my yellow I'm going to mix in this empty spot, and need a little bit more yellow. A little bit of red. Remember that red is a stronger color than yellow. So mix my orange and carefully paint my pumpkin. If I need a little bit more paint, I can mix more yellow and a tiny bit of red to make orange. We're coloring or painting so carefully in the lines. All right, I'm done with my orange pumpkin. Now I wash my brush off in the water. She washes her ballerina toes. Instead of tapping my brush like this, which makes a mess, I'm going to gently dry her toes on the side. And I'm actually this time going to wipe off my brush. Now let's mix green for the grass. I'm going to use an empty spot on my tray. So let's get some more yellow. You start with the lightest color first. And just a little bit of blue, because just like with red, blue is a stronger color than yellow. I have a nice green color here that I'm happy with. I'm going to paint my grass. If I want my grass to be a yellower green, I would add more yellow. If I want it to be a bluer green, I would add more blue. Need more paint. Very careful so that you can stay in your lines so that your pumpkin doesn't turn green too. Paint the whole grass. Make sure that you're really careful with it. And I'm done with my green grass. So my ballerina washes off her toes. I forgot the green stem. So she's going to wipe her toes again, dry them off, and then get a little bit of green, more green for the stem. Now she's going to wash her toes off again. Dry them carefully on the side she's not slapping. And mix purple. I use blue. This is why I have my tray for another empty spot. And red. You can see that mine is too blue, so I'm going to add some more red to it. We're making a nighttime pumpkin scene. All right, paint the sky. Once mine dries, you'll be able to see that it's a little bit purplier than it looks now. Be careful to stay in the lines. A little bit more. You can see that I went over, so my stem got a little small. Remember to be super duper careful. And here is my nighttime pumpkin scene. Okay, then you let it dry And we'll move on to the next step. Remember to wash your ballerina paintbrush toes and carefully dry them on the side. Now that my pumpkin landscape is dry, I'm going to get 2 different colors of paint to do my details. I have black and white. We're going to be making at least 4 different types of lines, at least 4. So I'm going to get my paintbrush just a little bit wet. I'm going to use a tiny paintbrush because I want details. I don't have a glob of paint on there. I have just a small amount of paint so that I can do small details. I think I'm going to do a curved line. Oh, you can see where I touched it where it's just a tiny bit wet still. That's okay. I'm going to do another curved line. Look at how careful I'm being. You need to be really careful too. So that's a curved line. That's one type of line. I think I'm also going to do a zigzag line. See where I'm going so lightly, I can go back in and fill it in. Then maybe a diagonal line. So I've used 1, 2, 3 types of lines, and maybe I'll use a couple spiral lines. Spirals are hard to draw with a paintbrush. Then I might decide I want to do white in the background. So I'm going to carefully and totally rinse out my paintbrush because white is a very different color. Get a little white. I think I'm going to do some stars in the background. So I have 1, 2 diagonal lines, then a vertical line to make some stars. All right, I'm going to keep working on my designs and I'll come back. And here are all of the line details on my pumpkin. See how many different types of lines you can find? I have a diagonal, or zigzag, diagonal, curved, a different type of curved, spiral. I have vertical lines. I don't have any horizontal lines, but I could have added some. I'm excited to see your pumpkins.